So to start, it's more like call and response type of melodies. So what I'll do, I'll have one melody going, and then while that melody is not playing or isn't as present, I'll have another melody come in to kind of fill that space. So they're kind of like alternating back and forth, like who's being heard, I guess. It's like this would be an addictive keys patch, a Mark 1, and it's like super verbed out. And then you'd have something like this Oberheim emulation that would like do this. And then like throughout that I'd probably have something going like constant, like this addictive patch too. This is Studio Grand. And if you listen to it, you probably won't know that's going on, just because it's so tucked underneath all the other parts. Okay, so I grouped all these Vox together so you can kind of hear how they're going off of each other. So yeah, it's got like an R&B keys layer underneath it. So I was just playing chords, and then the sample that turned out. Nothing on there but just some compression and some reverb. So after that breakdown, which I'll bring the drums back in. So for that breakdown, underneath here, we got like a shaker and these vocal risers that come in like right before it breaks down, kind of like a transition, I guess. So like this. So it also has like a auto pan effect, so you can probably hear it like going back and forth between your ears. Let's see. This breakdown before the lead comes back in, it's just the keys. Brought in another sample that's kind of like a warped piano. So those basically go along with this vocal chop right here, which you probably heard at the beginning. So like I said, I like using the auto filters on these type of things because it kind of brings down the energy for a little bit, and then I can use it to bring it back up during like a swell or something. So that's what I used it here for. So you can see the automation starts out at about 1.43 kilohertz, and then it works its way up to like all the way open. So that's when the synth bass comes back in. And I got some synth effects as well on here, so you can feel the swell more. I also got a couple BGVs right here, and I added a vocator and some chorus, some verb, and some delay as well. This might be kind of low, so you might have to listen a little closer for this. Then I have this thing called Morph Pad, which I've used a couple times before in other tracks. It just gives like a really full swell when you're going into a transition. It's got some verb on there, and some EQ, just to bring out the highs. And then, let's see, got a couple of synth effects up here. So yeah, I'll play it with all of those parts in, specifically with the synth bass. So yeah, that was pretty much what I'm talking about when I'm bringing in different parts of the track. It might sound different at a certain point, but so like for me, I can use parts in different sections of the song, and it could have already been there, but you wouldn't have noticed it. So it'll sound different the next time you hear it because you're not familiar with it, even though it was already there. So you don't necessarily need to have like 10 melodies for each part, even though I do that for a lot of parts. But like just bringing in different parts of the song at different points, if that makes sense, just to kind of keep it like interesting and the person listening doesn't like tune out, because the last thing you want is like people listening to your music and then they're like, oh, it's the same thing, i'm gonna just click off this because it's the same thing. Now you want to keep them interested in what's gonna happen next. So yeah, right before it goes back into like the main lead, it's kind of like a little drop right here, which you probably would hear best with the drums. So let me bring in the drums here. So at this point I have like an auto filter on the drums, so you can kind of feel the drums coming in, but not like all the way in. So just before it drops the drums. So I'll play it again with the track. And I'll play it by itself. So it's kind of like a cool feeling that I like to have in tracks, is when the low end kind of like fades in and then it drops back out for a bigger swell. So for me, it kind of makes it feel more impactful when you bring something in as kind of like a teaser, and then I've heard someone call it like an anti-drop. You think it's gonna drop there, but it doesn't. So I guess I kind of like that effect. So to go back into that lead part, it's basically the same effects as before, except I have the reverse guitar part that I had at the beginning going along with the swell. So yeah, basically the same effects, except the drum beat changes a little and the 808 also changes a little. So let me bring those both in here. Okay, so this is right before it goes back into the lead. So here's the synth bass. Like I said, it's very similar to the first part, except I don't like repeating the same choruses, so gotta add something different in each part. So for this, I guess what's different about this would be I kept in the ARP that I made in addictive keys, and then I changed up the 808 a little bit. So that second time it drops down to an E instead of an F sharp. When you hit major keys, it gives you more like a feeling that you're getting closer to home. I guess using that was more as kind of like a sign that the track's coming to a close, which kind of helps the listener. Even though they don't necessarily know what chords I'm doing, they'll feel, and I'm sure some people can attest to this. When you're listening to music, you can kind of feel when the track is coming to a close, even without like looking at the time of the track. So hitting that major chord gives you more of that like feeling. Okay, so basically, this transition into the outro is probably my favorite part, apart from the outro, because the keys does this little. And it's like it's super subtle, but it sounds like really nice with the beat. And the vocal effects are also kind of mimicking that melody as well. So apart from that, I bring in this vocal swell I got from Looperman. It's actually a pretty good sample website. It's not necessarily a distinguishable sound. It just sounds cool, I guess. So I'll play with the outro so you can hear how it sounds in that context. It gives you that kind of like ambient feel for the end, and I like it a lot, especially in the context of that transition. Again, we have this vocal melody still going. We have this melody. So yeah, that's also like a cool little melody that you have at the end. So I'll play them all together here. So yeah, I have my OBX doing the same thing, except it's more like stabs. Let me switch on to this. It's more like stabbing chords rather than like the usual fills that I was doing with it. So and I like the effect that that has as well. It's it's like it's kind of like a darker synth, but it's still able to cut through really nicely. There's not much on this but reverb and the Valhalla Supermassive, which is my favorite Valhalla plugin as of right now. So yeah, just before it swells into that last part, we have more effects right here. And we have the shaker again. So yeah, I'll just play them all with the drums so you can hear all the effects coming in at the end. And that's basically the transition for that part. So to end this track out, I switched this up to more like it's not a trap beat, but it's a trap feel right here at the end. So we got this hip hop guitar loop that I found in a sample pack. You can hear his little pan to the left right here. Super clean guitar sample. Nothing on it, just a little bit of chorus. I put chorus on most of the guitar effects here because it just gives you that nice wide effect. So with that, I have this top drum loop, which is basically just hats and a rim. And yeah, it just goes like super nice with this. So let me play these together. Super dope sample right there. To add on to that, I have a couple little accents again going on with my melodies. This is the main like vox chop for this, which you'll probably hear probably the most distinctly out of all of them throughout this track. It's basically what I had already. I just tuned it down an octave. And you can hear the delay on it as well, which probably sticks out a lot right before it drops, like right here. So yeah, with that, all I have really going on is the guitar loop, the top drum loop, and then so yeah, I just wanted that to be real simple. I wanted to keep the groove going with these two loops. So right before this beat drops, which is my favorite part, honestly, there is this swell again. Matter of fact, I'll just play them all with the drum loop. Oh yeah, I actually forgot there is one more. This is another imported Vox effect right here. And it has really heavy delay. What makes this part hit so hard is obviously the bass right here. So let me go ahead and bring these in. The synth bass is, the B7 is about the same. I just opened the filter all the way up. And then the 808, like I said, is constant. So while that's going on, we also bring in like the melodies that we had earlier. And it's even more cooler because there's so much going on with the drums that you can just play off with the melodies. So let me solo all the melodies with the drums so you can hear all of them together instead of me going through each one individually. So with those drums, it's really a lot going on right here. I'm gonna do my best to break this down right here. Okay, so we have, let me bring the guitars in at least so we can get a sense of where we're at. Okay, so we have this drop right here and then the swell right here. For this, it's the main elements that I had in the first part. Just switch these around a lot. So here's the main drums right here. So here I'm gonna add in the crashes and the top loops. So there's a little bit of panning going on just to keep it open for all the drum parts. And then got some synth effects down here and some vocal risers, which you'll be able to hear when they come. Then I got this little fire sample, which is also a super weird part that I put in, but it all works. Yeah, so the only short samples that I have in there that kind of make like a one-time appearance would be this fire, obviously. And then, let's see, this jazz freezy. It's like a cool little hit right here. Just verb that out, and then lastly I got like this conga verb effect that I use this quite a bit actually, but you can hear it right here. Usually have it on like 3 or 4 just after like the snare hits. It's got some delay on there as well. Okay, so I'm gonna play everything together right here because I think we've heard most of it. Just play the entire drum loop with all the vox and the melodies. So yeah, all in all, it's not too bad. It wasn't too hard to make. I probably made this in maybe a week. Thing is, I'll make tracks and I don't necessarily keep adding to them, but I'll go back and change stuff over the course of probably like a month. I'm not sure when Brightside was actually finished. Like finish, I can probably go check right here. Okay, so I finished this track in September, if you can see right here. Yeah, I finished it in September, but it wasn't released till a month ago. So with me making tracks, I do pace myself, especially if I don't have to release it. This was definitely one of my better tracks, but I think a lot of it comes with just not thinking too much about it. So like when it comes naturally, I guess it's probably like the best scenario you can be in to make like a fire track. Sure, that's pretty much it for this video. So yeah, if you made this far, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know down in the comments what other stuff you want to see in the future. So yeah, I'll catch y'all later.